What's up with Clemson, man? Is Clemson done? Got a couple DMs from y'all saying, is Clemson finished now? In short, no, Clemson is not finished. I'll tell you why in a second. Make sure you're subscribed. It's college football, only college football. Every single day, live Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, right here on the On3 YouTube channel is the Hard Count. Follow me on Twitter. Follow me on Instagram at JD Piquel to stay up with all that we got going on within this show. Promise you, you will not regret it as we keep rolling the college football season being subscribed right here. So again, in short, no, Clemson is not done. And there's two things that can be true right now. The first is there is a very obvious leak that has been sprung within this ship that is the Clemson football team. Very obvious leak, very obvious weakness within this situation. They don't have dynamic playmakers. Based on week 1, that's what we're taking away. Maybe we get here to week 6, that's overreaction. Based on what I saw in North Carolina, I don't think it is. Now, here's the other thing that's true. This is a very big boat. This is a situation now at Clemson that has seen its fair share of ups and downs and had to overcome adversity and all that. A lot of things are said about this Clemson operation. You also have a really capable roster. Clemson has recruited well. We'll talk about the dynamic they've recruited, but regardless, they've recruited well when it comes to how you rank them the last couple of years. Multiple top 5 classes. There's enough talent on this roster. They also have a very capable captain. Dabo Swinney, no mixed opinions on him. People are either one side or the other side when it comes to Dabo Swinney. They love him, they hate him, whatever it ends up being. I'm just telling you, dude's won a lot of football games. He knows what he's looking at. Is it ideal to lose the opener? No. Clemson's lost the opener twice since Dabo Swinney's been there. One was to Georgia when they won the national title. The other was to Georgia, and I believe they had a guy named Todd Gurley running the football for them. So I think that's probably what you can say about where they're at right now. The Duke game, I think, is a wake-up call. And they lost to an NFL quarterback in Riley Leonard. If Riley Leonard doesn't play quarterback for Duke, Clemson probably finds a way to win that football game. Now, the reality is he does play quarterback for Duke, so they lost that football game. And I think there's a tendency here for us to overreact based on what we saw week 1. Week 1 wasn't pretty for Clemson. Nobody's arguing that. But to say that they're just done and then jumping to the transfer portal as the reason why they're done, I think is just irresponsible. And the transfer portal, to be clear, is not the problem for Clemson. Using the transfer portal is not why Clemson lost the game, or the lack of using the transfer portal is not why they lost to Duke. Now, using the transfer portal could be a solution to the problem at Clemson, but the problem at Clemson, we talked about it on the live show yesterday morning, it's the lack of dynamic playmakers. Got a lot of big dudes that can go up and get the football, and a lot of guys that run right around 6'3", 6'4" when you measure them, but like outside of Antonio Williams, you don't have somebody that makes me nervous that you're going to pop the top on my defense. I keep it all in front of us. You throw your jump ball, that's 50-50. Win some, lose some, we'll live that way. So you have that paired with how many mistakes they had for the first-time quarterback being the guy for Clemson, did Cade Klubnik in the opener. I understand he started games before, but I mean, for his first time being the quarterback at Clemson, like, I don't think that we can look at the transfer portal and say that's why you lost. We talked about it yesterday. Duke didn't ravage the transfer portal over the offseason. Duke took 7 players, 3 from the FCS level. Duke wasn't just rolling out there and the better team because they took transfer players. No. And I understand your frustration at Clemson could be we're not taking transfers and that's why we don't have dynamic skill players. Okay, that's fine. But why do you have the skill players that you have? Because of the way you're building the roster. Because every coach in America has a criteria they look for at certain positions. Some go as specific as we want this 40 time, we want this height, weight. That's kind of the building blocks you start with. And there's always outliers, and I understand that. But for Clemson, far be it for me to tell them how to build their roster. But if it were me, I think that might be something to take a closer look at. Now, Dabo Swinney makes a lot more money than me to make decisions around his football team. So, again, I'm not throwing stones here, but I'm just saying the problem from the outside looking in feels pretty obvious. You could solve the problem through the portal, but again, the portal is living paycheck to paycheck. The portal is making a situation better each offseason. It's not sustainability. It's not recruiting the way that you want to recruit. And Clemson recruited really good recruiting classes, but the dynamic playmakers within those, I'm curious to see how that looks going forward. So this season is the season. They still have some guys they think can do some good things for them and kind of emerge. They feel good about Cole Turner. They feel good about Adam Randall eventually being a guy that can stretch the field for them a little bit more. I'm not saying it won't happen. I'm saying based on what we saw against Duke, that is the issue. Not that they haven't gone to the transfer portal. So when it comes to Clemson this year, man, the key is adjusting. Like we all saw that. What happened on Monday night isn't going to cut it the rest of their schedule. If they play that way and miss field goals and turn the ball over in the red zone, like, yeah, that's probably not going to be their last loss. But this situation we see right now with Clemson, the way we're talking about them, it just screams. It screams with all of its might what last year's Notre Dame was. Remember, Notre Dame, they lose to Marshall. Tyler Buckner's not playing anymore. He's hurt. You're playing your backup quarterback. And everybody and their mama just took all their Notre Dame stock, threw it in the river. They didn't even sell it because they didn't think I could get anything for it. So they just threw it in the river and said, oh, well, next year. We'll look at that again next year, I guess. Notre Dame went on to win like 9 football games. Okay? So what my point is here, talent is always going to give you a puncher's chance. Like Clemson, the rest of their schedule, they're going to have a better roster than just about every team they play. You talk about Florida State, you talk about the game against Notre Dame, and that'll be interesting. But, like, the talent is there. So don't panic because one game on a Monday night to start the season where you made a lot of mistakes and there's an NFL quarterback on the other sideline beat you. It is what it is. Clemson played poorly enough to lose. Duke played well enough to win. You don't take anything away from Duke. You look internally at Clemson and say, how do we adjust? But to just say that Clemson is done and that this is the end of the era for Dabo, I think is irresponsible. And we won't take part in it on this show. So that's how we feel about that. And curious to hear y'all's thoughts. So let me know in the comment section. Heck, get at me on Twitter, on Instagram, at JD Pickell, and let me know via the DMs or tweet at me, whatever it ends up being. How do you feel about Clemson? You think Dabo's done? We don't. We just made that very, very clear. Hard Count brought to y'all by Bird Dogs. The deal with Bird Dogs is, one, they look really good. They feel really good. Perfect example for y'all. Before the Monday night game, long weekend of college football, wife and I aren't getting a ton of time together. Obviously, we're watching ball, and it's not quality time, right? So what do? Go to the Mexican restaurant right here in Nashville, Tennessee. Great spot. And we go sit down, have a little dinner before we get rolling with the Monday night game, all right? And so they bring out some salsa. And I'm wearing Bird Dogs. I want to look good on the date night, so that's the first part of that. But I'm eating the salsa. Salsa falls onto my Bird Dogs. And I'm like, no, this is not good. And for those of y'all that know me, I'm the kind of individual that as soon as I spill something on my clothes, like, we got to just go water park mode and dump every water that we can find around us onto it to try and make sure the stain doesn't set. Is it a good idea? I don't know, but we're taking action quickly. And so I proceed to dump my ice water onto my Bird Dogs to get the salsa out. And other shorts, I would have been like, oh man, I guess I'm walking out of here looking like I had an accident in the restaurant. Instead, though, get the stain out. Bird Dogs, the nice moisture wicking kind of feel to it, and the fabric it's made of. As soon as we finished dinner, it was dry. Walked out of there, no problem, feeling good, looking good. So that's my Bird Dog story. Redeem code JD. Get yourself a little Hydro Flask style water bottle when you order from birddogs.com. So make sure you get yourself some of those so you can avoid those kind of situations, all right? Is what we're trying to say. Hey, y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also, be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.